can see the new zone is literally touching the storm. It can't go more southwest than what it did, but this is ending on top of the logjam. There's a lot of builds here. There's a lot of material to farm out, and a lot of these teams have to make the big rotate. Everyone's been pushing in from that northeastern section of the map. All the POIs, look at all those little triangles. You can see them in the distance, but right now, Jack, Acorn, and Slack sitting very pretty down here on what you would probably consider the dead side of zone, but 83 below monster, you talked about it. Oh, never mind. 400 above. Never mind. A little bit of a visual switch up there. They are above because they have 2 eliminations on the board. They get to sit down here now. Don't need to take too many tags, but you'll notice that all the players here are setting up on the edges. If you don't follow competitive Fortnite too much, you don't know how the zones work. We're going from 4th zone into 5th zone now. 5th zone is the half zone, as we call it. It has to go half into the storm and half in the existing zone. So you know then it can't be anywhere in the middle. So teams will choose to set up on the edge. That's why all those teams on the northeast don't want to make their way down here, because if they get that 5th zone on top of them, they move for no reason. But if we see a southwest pull again on the half, you better believe the good chunk of the lobby is going to have to make that rotate. They got a little bit of tree cover, but that is going to be a mad dash.
Yeah, and look at this high ground right now. Saf, Stretch, and Zayt here sitting up with snipers and everything that they need. Commandment's going to find first in the feed. I'm noticing that Voyu caught Genesis and Pandush was up as well down there, which means Gabe, Tahi, and Sprite might have lost their drop spot contestation at the Caddy's corner. That was one that was going down big time yesterday. And remember, they were in 7th place coming into this. So, again, zone's going to pop, and it looks like we're in for something interesting.
Not a single team got it. This half just poured into an area just called Far West. No one got it at all. So all these teams have to rotate. Who's going to try and go for the early high ground? I see a team there on the bottom left of the minimap rotating all the way around, trying to get in there early. A few trees, which are going to give them a little bit of cover, but now they're going to be out in the open. Degen, AIDS, and Skittles, our 3rd place team. Wrong for you. They're going to have to go down quickly here to not hold on to their lead, monster. They are showing phenomenal strength here to come out with confidence.
The team on their tail pushes them off their lane, and all of a sudden they get a free rotate straight to the new zone. Elims as his elimination lead over the entirety, I think, of all the players, all the teams here in the FNCS have shown up until now.
Goku just knocked him. There we go. We've lost him right now. Miro is down. They're in a nice base, so unless we see that finished on, I think that's just a knock, but that is very scary for your first place team. We also see that we saw Outcast Goku went down as well there, so they've traded. I think they're out here. Clicks, Bizzle, and Booga in this one. This is what you want to see. Day converting. Looks like those teams clash, so they may have lost Miro in the process, but they've gotten 2 eliminations out of that. Okay, Miro's back up, so never mind. They're just getting easy eliminations on the low ground, but that's going to be risky now. Have you lost a lot of your meds? Have you lost a lot of your material in that fight? And are you making the late rotate? Never mind. They look completely healthy, monster. This is scary for every other team in the lobby right now. They are here to play.
I was going to say, it also shows that exactly they're here to play. They're not messing up. And even if they do, they're popping off. The clutch, the follow-ups is everything you're looking for in a trio. And on high ground, though, let's talk about it. The legacy that they need to cement is some top-type finish here to continue their run of, just performing a top 10 every single time in these big final stages. They have a lot to prove, a lot to put up for.
I mean, 5 eliminations on the board. They're looking good right now. Zayt's got 2 rockets left, so a little bit of power to push down the lobby. 67 builds, so we've seen this team force a lot of high ground takes, lose their high ground late around that 2nd rotating zone, so keep eyes on this. This is not secure by any means. Zayt, Saf, and Stretch are losing their crown as the high ground kings. They have lost it many times in this situation, but you see Zayt, he has learned. He is going a few layers up. He is going another step above, so any team that tries to late retake this, either with a bouncer or building up from behind, don't have a chance, and he's not saving that RPG for pressure. He's using it for damage. damage. That was a double tag into those builds. They're trying to get eliminations right now. They're looking very, very comfortable. And this is what we talked about, changing the narrative. That is a team that is not even inside top 15, but they have the chance at a victory royale, taking the points that other teams need even more. But Damir and Reverse, they have no, like, it's not even crossing their mind to go for high ground right now, Monster. They are so comfortable down here.
No, this is where they want to be. This is where they like to play. It's the mid and the low ground layers. I mean, we've thrown around the low ground king title a few times, right? Over the last couple seasons, we had Xset running it. We have obviously Scented, Commandment, and Crew, but let's not forget, Reverse can at the end of the day prove to everyone why they are champions and why respect needs to be put on this trio's name. And you know what? When Reverse is up and leading his team, they will earn more placements. The history shows it. The numbers are there to prove it. And he's up right now, so we can guarantee they're making it all the way through. And we might be looking at a good old 3v3. The best of the height and possibly the best of the low.
Miro is just dropping eliminations that we're not even seeing on screen right now. Victory Royale, it is insane. I think we saw them do it 3 weeks in a row during the last FNCS. Now they show up here on day 2, game 1, like, man, they just come out. Game 1, like, man, they just come out so strong.
They always start off so strong, but listen, hats off to Commandment, who had 14 eliminations as a trio. Edgy.
Whoa, okay.
They come up, they pop off. Yes, they had 14 elims. And then our first place team, Dave, Miro, and Reverse, you can't count them out. They were also there. Top 3 is where all the points are.
I mean, you got to think, are they feeling nervous? But they come out on the first game and get themselves in that first place.
Yeah, definitely. But listen, we have more to break down. We're going to toss it over to the boys to see what they have to think about this.
About this, MDF, my brother from another mother, I think you just upgraded the mic and you look incredible. Oh, the game. Oh, yeah, my bad. Sorry about that.
Game.
Absolutely. Yeah, thank you, Vivid. I got you. Absolutely, I'm surprised, right? Especially off the performance coming yesterday. You had Sass, Stretch, and Zayt. They came in with not the greatest of showing, right? This is a trio that came in from the reboot round. And today they're saying, look, Zeke, yesterday didn't even matter. Let's just pretend it never happened. Because today, we're making our mark.
Yeah, you know, and Zayt7 Stretch have the record for the highest amount of first game wins in any tournament. They didn't get that today, but you know what? Day 2, technically, you know, it's a game one of some sorts, but you know, going in, we want to kind of check out of our top teams going into the day. You know, the top 3 teams we had in 3rd place at the start of the day. We had Skills, DJN, and Agers. This game, you know, started off reasonably strong. It wasn't an amazing game. It wasn't a kind of a shambles game for them. 9th place, picking up plenty of placement points here, but also managing to get 5 eliminations throughout the entire game. So pretty strong start for this team. Like I said, not that top 3 with a big placement, but a reasonably okay game to keep them moving in that top slot.
Yeah, and I want to, you know, okay, well, there you go. Nice shot coming out of whoever just hit that on the deep in there. Something I want to talk about real quick, though, is that Zate, Saf, and Stretch, you know, they got the victory out there, but looking over here, Commandment, Scented, and Edgy actually ended up getting 9 more points than them in that game, so, you know, the Elam has been flowing in for them.
Yeah, you know, Slacks, Acorn, and Jack came into the day 2nd. Now, these guys really performing, and this last game, you know, we saw Commandment sit edgy. We talked about 14 eliminations. You know, you heard Monster say it there himself. 10 eliminations themselves, and if you notice their positioning on the zone, it's gone now, but their positioning was fantastic. We saw all those teams in that 4th zone be super congested in that northeast corner. They wrapped around the south side, keeping away from the amount of teams that were there, giving themselves a really nice position set up for the moving zone.
Yeah, and as we saw there, Miro kind of getting some stat padding in, eliminating a shark so that way he can keep those eliminations per day up. But again, we're just looking at it right here, how good they are at working as a team to pick up these in. Look at this. You know, Miro is the one that ends up getting this elim here, but Reverse and Day are right there, right beside him. They do a really good job of finding these elims together as a trio.
Yeah, incredible. And that's one of the things that you're going to notice about these top tier teams. Even right now, Acorn, Slacks, and Jack, they're fighting. Look at the spacing between these 3. They're almost touching each other. They're so close. And when you're in a position where you have a lot of your builds and a lot of enemy builds around you, you have to be careful. You know, you can't be getting too separated from your team, because if you manage to get too separated, you're going to be picked up by someone else at that point. So, great spacing. You're going to watch all the top teams. Sticking together so well like that.
Yep. Cohesive gameplay is really important, especially when it comes to team game modes like trios. You want to make sure that all 3 of you are on the same page, making the same minutes. You're aware of what your teammate's about to edit, so that way you'll get those shots in at the same exact time.
It's so cool to see just like kind of the differences. I would say like your top trios are coming into this so much more calculated, right? They're running these numbers in their mind like, what do we need to do? And they're executing so well. But now we got to take a look at our standings. We got to see how things are going. Remember, this is a cumulative standings. So after the first game here of 6, Day, Miro, Reverse, they're still holding on to this lead, at least for right now, Reese.
Yeah, because, you know, right now, the teams in terms of 1st and 2nd, which is Day, Mirror, Reverse, Slacks, Acorn, and Jack, this is pretty much the same gap that they had going into this first game of the day. You know, from that first day, they had roughly the same points between each other. So, you know, like Day, Mirror, and Reverse, 10 eliminations in 3rd, and Slacks, Acorn, and Jack, 10 eliminations in 4th. They've pretty much played the exact same game. You know, they're very close in terms of the outcome of that game, although despite the fact their gameplay was very different. You know, we saw Commandment, Scent, and Edgy moving up and overtaking DJ and Agers and Skills there with that 2nd place with 14 eliminations. So that was a really massive game for them, and you know, we've talked a lot about them and their huge ability to get eliminations.
Yeah, and coming out of yesterday, the point differential between Commandment, Scented, and Edgy and Reverse's trio was 38 points. And I believe looking at that leaderboard there, it was around 20. So Scented, Edgy, and Commandment are really making a run for this first place slot because they are closing that gap. You mentioned that the gap between Day, Reverse, and Mira and Slacks' trio is about the same. However, we still do have these other trios that are making a climb and making this a race for first place.
Yeah, and you know, any of the teams that you're seeing here, 16th down till 20th, they are not out of the battle by any means. You know, there's still 5 games left, 30 points for the Victory Royale, plus any eliminations you get on top of that can move you hugely up the leaderboards. And once you get to that top 10 slot, every single placement above that becomes more and more prize money at the end of these 2 days. So these guys, anything to play for right now, and still, there's still 5 more games. I'm excited to see how they play out.
Hey, it can still go any which way, right? We could just have one team like Zaf, Satan, Stretch. They could just keep winning games back to back and suddenly from reboot round win it all. Anything is possible when it comes to Fortnite. But now it is time to jump into the next game on the day. So let's send it back to our casters to take us in.
Of the guys popping off, keeping their consistency from day one into game two, and now new teams on day two needing to step up here and again make themselves relevant, let themselves be heard here.
Yeah, and this is it right now. This is where a lot of the storylines are going to come out of. Zaytsap and Stretch here at the Hydra Dam, they don't have it uncontested. They need to win this fight so they can go on to have those performances we just saw from them that we know they can. Stretch is gonna, ooh, nice, I like that. If you just wonder what happened there, Stretch actually just talked to the ghost of Ruckus and managed to purchase one of the blue lever action shotgun. One of the big things about Ruckus not a lot of players know about is once you eliminate Ruckus, you get, yes, that RPG and that legendary heavy assault rifle. You can still interact with him to make sure you want to buy some of the good loot as well. Always selling some variation of a lever action shotgun. It is huge, and Stretch now goes from having no shotgun to a blue lever action. Just, again, the kind of knowledge you need to have on these days in these formats, because that is going to turn this fight huge here as Stretch now gets handed the RPG to see what he can do with it. Breaking down the door to try and find an angle in. I think Stretch knows they're at the back of this one, trying to find a way around the corner. Remember, this is your game #1 victory royale here, so even though they didn't have a huge performance yesterday, if they walk away from Hydro Dam right now, they are taking points away from other teams that need them potentially even more. So this is a huge storyline that develops. If Predator Quits can walk away from this one, walk away with a loot.
They back off because they saw him putting presence down. That's preparation, that's strategy. As we hop over to another fight, this fight's been going on for 2 days now, for 8 rounds of Fortnite, and who's gonna walk away with this one this time around? Chap finally looks like he's actually in the lead here. Their trio's been losing this for the most part.
No, it's such an awkward fight there. No, we saw EU. We saw everything end here on the stacks for EU, but everything's going to start here for Chap's team. He has one build. He is stranded, and he goes down. You said this fight's been going on for 2 days, Monster, but this fight has been going on for weeks and months. These teams have been going up against each other during practice games, during qualifiers. We saw them go head-to-head. I believe it was in qualifying week 1 where we actually saw Bully's team come 9th or 10th place, I believe, to make it through into the heats against Chap's team. So Bully's team yesterday came out of the spawn fights way more often than they didn't, and when they did come out, they performed better than Chap's team right now. Unfortunately for Chap, his team has found its match, and it is going to take, I mean, I don't even think at this point they can come back in any real way, Monster, but I talked about it. That is one of the 2 players here today who has come top 10 in every single finals appearance they've been in. Chap's reputation is on the line, and I don't know if he can bring it back.
Yeah, you need just a string of big games. We're talking victories and everything in between. It will be tough for them to fight for, but again, the thing about the way even the prizing breaks out, you want to fight, right? You want to get those high placing spots, top 15 and above, definitely get that nice prizing bump up. That's where things start to get upgraded for everyone here in the competition today. So this final setting, there's a lot to fight for. Obviously, it's the FNCS Championship belt on the line, right? The Axe of Champions, if you will. Then you have up the top 3 that can get invited to the next FNCS competitive major, which we already know is happening. We saw the roadmap there, and then there's surprising, the big breakdown. So there's so much different incentives. Everyone has a bit of a different story, something else on the stakes, on the line.
You know what I'd like to point out as well, Monster, that I think it's kind of flown under the radar. The top 5 teams right now are all teams that played the last FNCS together, except for Bucky, Kanata, and Macwood. They are the only new team on the block, but our top 4 are all trios who played together last FNCS. So any one of them getting top 3 here today, guaranteeing an invite into the next FNCS finals would be massive. If you look at the leaderboard right now, if Commandment Sends and Edgy can get that 1 point that separates them from 3rd and 2nd, that was our last FNCS 1st and 2nd. Day's team coming 1st, Center's team coming 2nd. So this leaderboard is looking so close, and it's showing other players that consistency of teammates, sticking together, building that chemistry will go such a long way. It is not a coincidence that all the top teams right now are teams that have been playing together for multiple seasons.
That's what I was going to say. I was going to bring that up there. That's pretty much the next point, right? Is like, yeah, this region has definitely proven what happens when you build chemistry with teammates. You build up the skill levels, you hold each other accountable, and you not only that, you stick to a drop spot, right? You come up consistently. We've seen a lot of these teams carry these drop spots season after season, and we know season, map changes, we get different, things introduced, I should say, features, right, to the game. You never really know what's going to come in the Fortnite world, but when you stick with one another, that's how you build up the reputation.